Another example is a chap who was my neighbour for 16 years, and he went through a whole kerfuffle to borrow £3,000, and that included asking me to host a survey on his house because he was trying to put a charge on his house without his wife's knowledge. So he was going to put a second charge, not his mortgage, a second charge on his family home without his wife's knowledge, which means he was going to commit fraud because he was going to have to fake her signature. So he did this whole, hey, would you host a survey for me on my house? And I'm like, oh, I'm working from home, it's over the road, what's going to happen? So I said, yeah, but I don't want to be wandering around your house with a surveyor. And he said, no, my daughter will be in. So I was like, okay, fine. Hosted the survey. So I knew this legitimate man came out to do a survey on the house. And when that guy came out to do the survey, it was obviously for a loan application. And then the original chap was saying, basically, he needed £3,000 to tide him over, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I was in the middle of buying a house, so I had the cash, and he knew I had the cash. And he kept pushing and pushing. So in the end, I said to him, write down your bank details. I'll transfer you the money. I don't need interest. Just make sure it's back before I complete on the house. Because it was either the house purchase money or the refurbishment money. And this is a guy who's always swanning around in an £80,000 car that clearly he couldn't afford to run. So he borrowed money off me. And there's times when feminism doesn't count. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a girl. You're a grown man who's at least 15 years my senior. And you're so shameful the way you manage your money. You're having to ask a young girl to borrow money. And bear in mind, there's a 2-income household because he works and his wife works. Anyway, the long and the short of it was, I exposed the fraud by accident because I went over one day and said to his wife, when are you going to pay me back my £3,000? And she slid down the wall crying, saying, I don't know what you're talking about. It ended up with him getting a county court judgment, bailiffs coming, and me having an application ready to put a charge on his house. And it was only because I bumped into him in the street and he was walking towards me and he was trapped by the parked cars. And I was not in the mood that day. And as he walked towards me, I just looked at him and he went, oh, babe. Oh, it was a house of cards. Everything was falling down. And then when I turned around, I realised that all his friends were sitting in the car. So he couldn't afford for me to kick off and say, where's my £3,000? You dirty little rat. Where's my money? And he was like, here, put your bank details in my phone. I'll give you the money back. His friends were literally there. So I could have just gone and said, he's a loser. He hasn't got any money. He was borrowing money off a young woman because he couldn't afford to run his lifestyle. Anyway, that was solved. He did give me the money back.